Okay, so welcome back to this sort of vlog style video. I want to talk about, well, first off, let me just say that this is sort of a low production sort of, throw up the idea, document what I've got going on, share a lesson, hopefully provide some sort of value that kind of helps you guys get from point A to point B a little bit faster in whatever it is you guys are doing, usually pertaining to marketing and business and a little bit of entrepreneurship. However, what I really strive to do is to share from personal experiences. And this is one topic that I really learned when I was running my own agency, and one that I am seeing again and just kind of rediscovered in our current agency. So one thing that we've really been working on, that we've been working on at work, is really getting a system for new leads to come in. Obviously making that systematic and trying to push a lot of volume through that so that we're getting a lot of traffic and getting as many book calls as we possibly can. We have a new offering, which we finally nailed down and have really gotten clear. After the last year, they've kind of been doing a pilot program as to what services they're going to provide for clients and how they fulfill them. Moving forward, now we've got a little bit clearer on what it is we do want to do, what we don't want to do in terms of what we want to provide, and what we think we can do that provides the highest amount of value with the lowest amount of resources, I guess you could say, broadly speaking. That way you have the maximum impact with the highest possible margin. In doing so and in developing this new business idea, which we think is a lot better based on our experiences from the last year, we are, obviously at this point facing reality. And I don't mean that in terms of like coming to terms with reality or anything like that. I mean, we're hitting that wall of reality with this idea and seeing if it can stick. And so the way you do that, and the thing that the big takeaway here is that you're going to start out with a business idea. You're going to start out with this thought of how I'm going to do what my next business is going to be, and how I'm going to serve that, how I'm going to price it, all these things. You come up with these ideas, and sometimes they even become more complex. Like obviously the high school ideas that I had were a little bit more rudimentary than before I started my agency. My agency, I was doing market research, looking at cost, figuring out like conversion rates, what I would need, what the lead cost would be, what the lifetime value of a lead would be, like going through some serious numbers to try and quantify and give myself some confidence going into the business, that I had a realistic idea of how that would work out. However, what I learned and what I could not have accounted for was all of the stuff that I learned from the possible customers. And this is what we're running into with the agency. So we obviously had our ducks in a row. We did all the research. We've had a year of experience. We've had success, and we know how to sort of deliver that. So how do we do that with more people, do it more, at a higher scale, less effort per customer, so that we can kind of, again, scale it. And those are the same ideas I had in my own personal business. And what happens is once you put in a system and you start to get in front of people and have sales conversations about the products that you're offering, you start to figure out what people want and what people don't want. Even more so than you thought you knew beforehand. And that leads to large changes in your offer. I mean, to give you an example from personal experience, when I was, a real estate agent and I was looking at the idea of digital marketing for real estate agents, I started piloting the program for myself. I started running Facebook ads to my own landing pages, to then my own CRMs that I was using at work for the team I was with, to then see how the whole thing would tie together, see how the ads were coming through, what the lead costs were, what the quality was like. I did these calls personally. I basically tested the product as a real estate agent because I was one, in the process of developing what was going to be the system I set up for real estate agents, right? Prior to that, a year before that, I just thought I'm going to generate leads for real estate agents. I didn't even think about the fact that they need a CRM and follow up, and obviously that they need help with that, and that's a lot of work to put in place, or that some agents don't even do it at all. They don't even manage their leads, which is a huge problem, especially if you're a salesperson. You should live and breathe and die by a CRM, right? But also, CRM management's a whole nother skill, like learning how to keep one clean, keep one tidy, make sure that people aren't getting dropped, along the patterns and the pathways that you've laid out for them, making sure that there's consistent email or contact and follow up. Those are all very hard things to do, but those are problems that need to be solved for your potential customer. So if you're solving a lead problem, and then they also have these problems with lead nurturing and all that stuff, and you can solve those problems for them, then your value becomes more valuable. And then, another hard way to learn that lesson is when you go to have a sales conversation and you don't offer a CRM, but you find out that a competitor does. However, while that might be, kind of a stab in the heart when you're on that call, what you can then do is go look into, well, how are my competitors offering CRMs? And that can lead you to new answers to old problems that, you previously thought were, almost road stoppers, complete roadblocks, right? And I've run into that so many times, like lead magnets, oh, how am I gonna do, like, what is a good lead magnet to generate, seller leads? Buyer leads are so easy, but what is a seller interested in, right? All these ideas, they become like roadblocks, but eventually you find the solutions kind of through the conversations with the customers. And it's okay to learn from your customers. It's okay to ask them, on sales calls for feedback, and what do you think of this? Is that really something that is valuable to you? And sometimes that'll come across as salesy, and people will, recluse into themselves and not answer those questions. But it's a really big indicator, when you're having these sales conversations, to just feel people out, put no pressure on it. I know that Hormozi and a lot of those, other big business guys really say, like, do the thing for free until you fill it up. And then once you filled it up, then just start telling people, like, hey, you either got to pay or you got to go, because I've got people that are now ready to come into the door, paying, right? And then you scale up from there, and that really is sort of the learning phase of a business. And that can take a year, year and a half, 2 years. I'm learning more things to now, being a part of the agency that I'm a part of now, that will strengthen my offer if I were to go back into the market with my agency tomorrow, which I do plan to do. So, it all takes time. And I guess my biggest piece of advice is that when you start the idea for whatever your business is going to be, you're going to learn of 101 different things that are going to change from the original offer. Just because they fit better in the marketplace. They maybe make you stand out, or they make your offer more valuable or more competitive, right? There's so many different things that you can do to manipulate your offer in a way that makes it more appealing to people, therefore increases your closing rates, and obviously gets you more revenue to the door. But yeah, man, it's hard to differentiate yourself. I'm learning a lot more about, online businesses that aren't e-commerce and aren't lead gen. And there's also this sort of software that's a little bit too hot of a lane, but if I can find somewhere in between those three, maybe somewhere in the middle between lead gen and software, and maybe in between, somewhere around e-commerce and software, or, maybe in between both. I don't know. But what's really complicated is again, what really causes your offer to change is the competition and the conversations you have with the customers that are going to want to buy your product. They're not going to buy it if they don't want it. What do you want that I don't offer already? Go implement it. Go find a way to implement it, right? Always look for ways to cut down on operational heaviness, if that makes sense. Don't do anything that is incredibly labor intensive unless you have a good solution to either make it less labor intensive, or just don't do it. Find other ways of providing value that can scale. And it's not really that scale needs to be the concern. I know even Hormozi talks about how, like, too many people are worried about scale. That's probably true. I was always in the paid ad space, and I always believed in the immediate effects of paid ads, because what you're doing is getting guaranteed eyeballs. So all I have to do is develop an offer that people want, because I'm guaranteed to get in front of them. So, that's half the equation solved. The eyeballs is solved. It is expensive, but it guarantees me the exposure, and then I can get, people in the door. And once you get people in the door, start having conversations with them, start figuring out what would make your value more to that person. And then, obviously that will lead you to getting higher conversion rates, more revenue, and obviously getting you, or making you a more successful business person. So yeah, just view things from a systematic level. I always do. Always look at the flow, kind of the process in which people discover you, always be tweaking on those little things, always be making little improvements. There's so many times in this world where I've come up with, oh, well, this is as good as this thing's gonna get. And then all of a sudden I learn about something and it almost feels like a second generation or a third version of whatever it was that I had made, a completely different thing that's 10 times better, right? So always be iterating, always be looking for opportunities to improve, always be learning more, because there's so many more things out there. You're only really limited by the amount of information that you can consume in a day. And so really go out there, figure out, if you've got a problem, go research the fuck out of it until you find an answer. I mean, that's really the only option you have. And you're gonna find solutions, or you're gonna create workarounds. The obstacle is the way, as Marcus Aurelius would say. So thank you guys so much for taking all the time to watch this video. I think it was a bit of a long one, bit of a ramble, but whatever your business idea is today, I can promise you that once you start talking to customers and hitting that wall of reality, you'll find out whether or not it sticks. And if you don't stick, you'll find out what is making it not stick, right? And you'll be able to adjust accordingly and hopefully improve your offer and sign more deals. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, thanks.